Coffee is a fine first date.
What he could have done.
Could have done a million other things.
Right.
Hi, I understand, and I'm genuinely interested in meeting you and getting to know you. I am open to a cocktail later in the day Sunday, but am not open to coffee dates. ChatGPT must have written this. First dates are inherently challenging and fraught, and effectively disallowing alcohol isn't helpful. So basically he's saying I need to have alcohol to have a first date.
I have no problem with coffee dates. I think coffee dates are the best. She brought more screenshots. Watch the rest. Welcome to the Ask a Matchmaker podcast. I'm your host, Matchmaker Maria. Before we get into this episode, I want to remind you all this podcast is for everyone, single, in a relationship. This podcast gives no nonsense insights into dating, relationships, compatibility, and love in modern times. Just remember that dating is a privilege. I actually talk about this in my upcoming book, Ask a Matchmaker. And if you have not pre-ordered it, what are we doing? Link in the bio, link in the show notes. Purchase. Let's go. Come on. Help me out here. Anyway, I am so excited for this month's co-host. It's not only one of my work colleagues, one of my dearest friends, and one of your favorite guest hosts, Erika Ettin.
Wow.
Online dating manager to the stars.
What an intro.
Erika.
Yes, Maria.
Oh my God. I love having you on. If you don't recall, if you're an OG listener, you know that you were my first episode.
Episode 1.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
It's been 5 years. I know.
Wow.
Sit on that for a second.
I can't. Wow.
Yeah. What is time?
I don't know.
I was looking at videos yesterday of something I posted in 2022. 2022. That sounds so weird. Anyway, and I was like, that was 3 years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
I can't wrap my head around it. I'm having a big struggle with time.
You know, it's interesting. I count everything as like pre-COVID. That was a different life.
Right.
And now those are not the same life.
Right.
And so like if a client comes to me and they show me a picture and it's from 2020 or 2019, I'm like, throw that out.
Yeah.
Like that's not, I had an argument with a client the other day. She's like, but I look good in it. I'm like, I'm not disputing that you look good in this picture. It's just not you anymore. She's like, but I look the same. And they
never do.
No. And I have to, put myself into this and be like, we all age. I don't like it either. But anyway, yes. What is time?
What is time? Well, Erika, speaking of time, we're in the month of February.
I don't know what happened.
I made some resolutions.
You did? How fun.
Haven't done any of them.
Okay, well, you got 11 more months. You're fine.
Yeah. I'm just living my life.
What are the resolutions?
Take my vitamins.
Oh, okay. You could put them in your underwear drawer.
That's a great idea.
Then you'll never forget. I used to keep my deodorant in there just so I wouldn't forget.
That is actually a really brilliant idea because I change my underwear every morning.
One hopes.
One hopes. That's right. Okay. So I'm really happy that you're here. I know that February gives a lot of added pressure in dating because of the holiday. And we'll talk about Valentine's Day next week.
Great.
But a month into 2025, a month into where I feel like a lot of people want to date more intentionally, are you witnessing any dating trends?
I think New Year's resolutions always bump the numbers up in January. So I have noticed that just more people are online. But beyond that, I haven't really noticed much of a difference. I will say anytime you add more people to a tool, some of the behavior isn't good. When there's more options, some people take some options for granted. So unfortunately, that means you have fewer engaging conversations, fewer people really converting the conversation to a date. So you really might have to work a little bit harder and use the tool, online dating or whatever other tools you're using, to vet a little more and find the people, the cream rises to the top, find the people who are really invested in this process working. I'm
really happy you said that, and I want to talk more about it, but I just realized that we never really properly introduced you.
Oh, here I am. I'm Erika.
Yeah, Erika,
It's me. I'm Erika. Sorry.
Tell us. Oh, that's great. Tell us, tell the people who don't know you what you do.
Okay.
And maybe how you do it.
Sure.
Without giving any trade secrets.
It's fine. So my name is Erika Ettin.
She's a little nudge on Instagram.
Yes.
She is such a fun follow. I'll also include the link in the show notes, a little nudge. She's She green screens your online dating messages and talks about it in front of those images. It's amazing.
I do. Thank you. And every Monday I ask questions. Like your Wednesdays, I do Mondays and answer questions. But yeah, so I've had my business A Little Nudge for, believe it or not, almost 14 years. And just for a teeny bit of background, because I don't always share this, my background's actually in economics. And I used to work at Fannie Mae in mortgages, which is really exciting. And but I was a really early adopter of online dating, like 2001 early, which is something.
That's 2001.
Yeah, I was in college.
Wow. And what website?
I used JDate at the time.
JDate was around in 2001?
That came out in 1997. Match came out in the mid-90s. Those were, and eHarmony was out. That was pretty much it.
JDate must have been like the first niche.
It was.
site.
JDate and Christian Mingle are owned by the same company, so they were both
yeah.
out. But anyway, so I did that on and off for years, and because of my background in economics, I started a spreadsheet of my own online dating experience. And initially, it was so I didn't accidentally write to the same person twice. And at the time, you had to use usernames. So it wasn't like Maria, Erika. It was like, Fun Guy New York, or on JDate, like, I still remember this one, Hung Like a Mezuzah, which is the thing that hangs on your dates.
Yeah. That's really,
really bad.
That's the kind of guy to bring home to mom.
Oh, yes. Anyway. So I initially started the spreadsheet so I didn't accidentally write to the same person twice. But then I was like, I can measure things in here. What's my response rate if I write to someone? What's my conversion rate? If that person writes back, do we go on a date? And I made tweaks and I learned a lot. And that's sort of how I got the idea to start the business, because my friends were noticing that I was doing better.
Right.
And so, I started in 2011. And to this day, I help people with all aspects of online dating. Some I help by coaching, giving you the tools you need to ultimately do online dating better on your own. And some I help by actually doing much of the legwork of the online dating. So you get to do the fun part, which is go on the date.
Without experiencing any of the dating fatigue.
Exactly. You can't get your hopes up. You can't get them down. I shield you from some of the stuff you don't want to see online.
Yeah. So, you mentioned before about how, the influx of new users or re-emerging users in January, people might exhibit a little bit more flakiness, a little bit more indecisiveness. When do you think that kind of like levels off a little bit?
I don't know that it'll ever level off. It just has to, I don't know. I think the more people who use a technology, it sort of dilutes the experience sometimes. And I don't think that's dating. I think that's technology. I think that's people.
Right.
And so it really forces you to make sure going in, you're only going out on dates with people who are engaging in that conversation, who treat you like a human, like an adult, like a person, who don't, start with over-sexualizing at the beginning. And so part of my job is I want to teach people, like, you don't have to accept the behavior that you don't want. Only go on the dates with the people who are showing you they should be on a date with you.
Yeah. One of the things that I have noticed, not only in your posts, but even the way I'm answering questions as well, is, what you just said. You don't have, if someone is sexualizing in the beginning, and sometimes it's subtle.
Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it is not subtle.
That's right.
Yeah.
But just like you said, you don't have to accept that behavior. You don't have to keep talking to this person.
No. In fact, sorry, I didn't mean to cut
you.
you.
Of course. Please.
In fact, I sometimes say, like, you don't have to teach grown-ups how to talk. If someone says something sexual, just unmatch them immediately. We don't say, no, you don't talk to people like that. It's not worth your breath.
Right. I don't think you need to teach. You're not there to teach. But I was reflecting, and this has happened recently where, how we advise our clients to online date, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, is, I'm noticing that certain professions get the sexualization on hard, right? So
I saw your note about nurses,
teachers, bartenders.
Yes. You're not wrong.
Yeah. And I mean, we see it with our clients, right? How many clients have we had that are nurses and teachers?
Yes, I know.
And I've started telling nurses, this actually was a brilliant thing I saw from my ex roommate, who I love. Shout out to Danielle. I know she doesn't listen to this, but maybe she will. But her brother is dating a CRNA.
Okay.
And she didn't do this on purpose. She just happened to put the letters.
I understand.
And the reason why she put the letters was hoping that I want to attract a guy
who knows what those letters mean.
Exactly.
I'm not
and if he doesn't,
I don't know that I know what those letters mean.
It's a type of nursing, like have like
I know
RN.
RN.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it's a type of nursing. But she was hoping I want to attract someone who does, who has the foresight to Google this, but also if they know what it is, then I don't have to explain it, like this sort of thing.
I understand and respect that choice. Yep.
So as I thought about that, and I thought about it for a while, I thought first of all, it's brilliant because it gets rid of the word nurse.
Yep.
Right. But we got to do it for other things too, right? See, like I now have been advising nurses, CRNA, RN, healthcare.
I see both sides of this because on the one hand, I agree with you because if we can minimize the amount of sexualization people do, yeah, we should do that. I don't let women put in their women who are searching for men, I don't let them put in their profiles anything about showers, baths, massages, anything where you could be naked. Okay? Now, with the occupation, I see both sides of it because on the one hand, I completely agree with you because if that minimizes it, great. But on the other hand, if someone calls herself a nurse, I don't want her changing it for this. I would rather her know up front if someone's going to be disgusting so that she can rule him out immediately. Same thing with teachers. So yeah, you could put education or you could put teacher. And if someone's like, man, I would have had a crush on you, just delete them. You've learned everything you need to know. Is it annoying? Sure. But it's the perfect mechanism that you can use to rule people out.
I hear what you're saying. I guess I'm looking at it from perspective of making sure that they have a positive dating experience. So even if you're ruling those people out because they're showing you their cards like straight away, it's still a lot of abuse to take in.
I see both sides of it for that reason. And so on the one hand, I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to give that advice. I hate the advice, but it's good advice.
It's one of our coaching clients, who's a bartender, she was telling me she was getting sexualized a lot. And hearing me say to a nurse, hey, just change it to RN or healthcare, she actually changed it to hospitality from bartender.
Okay.
And she said that it totally different online dating experience.
I believe that.
Yeah. So I think, I find that these little tweaks is, at the end of the day, I feel like if anyone is online dating, I just want them to have a positive experience using the tool.
I completely agree with you. And I hate that has to be a factor that we need to think of.
I feel like men are though on a downturn. Because it's what you just said, right? Like it sucks that we have to think this way because people are weird to strangers on the internet.
Yep.
And also people receive that sort of abuse from other strangers on the internet.
I think there's a sense of anonymity that people have when they're online. Like there are no repercussions. So I'm just going to put this out there into the world. And if anyone if 1 out of 100 women, responds to this, then I guess I'm winning. Yeah, that's
people
terrible.
Aren't scared that they can look them up on LinkedIn and talk to their employer.
I don't know.
It just feels so odd. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there a time, isn't this why Hinge is named Hinge? Like there was a time when Hinge, you could see your mutual friends.
That's how it started. Yes. You could see all of your Facebook mutual friends on Hinge.
That no longer exists.
That's correct.
And now you have no middleman to like.
There's no accountability. Yeah, exactly. There's no recourse.
I feel like if online dating wants to get better, there has to be some sort of accountability, not only from the apps, I was going to say websites. Oh my God. 2010 is calling. But also some accountability from the user.
Well, I do think we should report people. Yeah. So if someone gets disgusting or sexual before you unmatch them, report them. What happens when you report someone? Who's to say? I don't know. I don't work for the apps, but hopefully they're flagged.
Right. So let me tell you what dating trends that I'm seeing. Okay. Because I'm not in the online dating world, although I certainly give online dating profile updates a lot lately. Learning from the best.
Well, thank you. I
Erika.
Appreciate that.
I have seen a values first approach. And I know this is more my followers base. And I think that's because I'm constantly beating the drum. Like,
what do you mean when you say values first?
So understanding what sort of values you intend to live the next 5, 10, 20 years of your life, like where your integrity and your convictions stand.
I have a real question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you say values, when anyone says values,
right?
Because that's not how I would lead on with online dating. I just want you to put your hobbies and a bunch of stuff that'll get you to start a conversation,
right?
Because I think until you meet someone, you have no idea what their values or otherwise are. So when you say values, like what are some examples of values? And I obviously understand what a value is, but when you say it, what do you mean?
Right. So for me, values. Well, I think just in general, values is like, how do you, for instance, exhibit respect?
Okay.
And I know that's really hard to
Well, that's very
put that in
nebulous.
an online dating
So what,
profile.
you can't know that.
Of course, no. And I don't expect anyone to straight up write all their values out on online dating profile. There's only
Right.
so many
Well,
prompts
exactly.
that fit in there.
And actually, I have people skip it. Like they have a section on Bumble where you can click like ambition and like,
Right.
you know, generosity. I have everyone skip that section because it's so subjective.
Right.
And the people who shout out, yeah, I'm generous, are probably the least generous. So anyway, keep going.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So I'm looking at this from a matchmaking perspective.
Okay.
So, and I know it's a very different world than yours.
Sure.
So we
I'm
know
just
this,
really
right? Yeah.
curious.
And I'm going to answer. So to me, it's like there's a lot of value words, right? And you just named a few: ambition, generosity, respect. I would say communication, but also to me, like a big value thing is like integrity and lifestyle.
Okay.
So are you going to do what you said you did?
Uh-huh.
And then how do you spend your time and how do you spend your money? Like what is the value
Okay.
behind that?
Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I've always loved about how you do your online dating profiles is that you are really showing off how people spend their weekends.
Yeah.
And also sometimes it's even like an exercise of like, listen, if you had a partner, what would your weekend look like?
Sure.
Let's describe the perfect Sunday for this prompt.
Okay.
Right. Because that's starting to show like one of the values, which is like, I enjoy doing fun things. My biggest problem with a lot of online dating profiles is this overemphasis on travel, when I know that like most people only travel maybe once a year for 10 days.
Okay.
And I'm like, so it's not like you can be aspirationally saying, I want to travel a lot. You can certainly have those goals.
Uh-huh.
But if I'm not seeing at least 2 travel photos in your profile,
Uh-huh.
how much are we traveling? Like how big of
Well,
it?
that's why I think there's no substitute for getting to know someone over a period of time, because that's how you understand their values or whatever you want to call it. How they spend money, you'll see that pretty clearly if you
Right.
date them for 2 months.
Right.
If they're nice to people, you'll know that after one date.
Right.
You know, if they're generous, if they're ambitious, you'll know that from how hard they work. So
No, you have to date, right?
Yeah,
There's no
exactly.
way. Yes, you have to get out
people
the
are
door.
so obsessed with not wasting time, but it's like it's not a waste of time if you learn the things you need to know, even if it doesn't pan out in the end.
Right. And so what I said before about like I'm seeing a value-driven dating as a matchmaker is that I'm seeing way less emphasis
Uh-huh.
from a certain subset of the population. It's not everybody.
Yeah.
Where they're kind of like open on age. They're open on
Good.
height.
Well, that's
They're
good.
open on religion. They're
Uh-huh.
open on race.
Uh-huh.
And it's
Good.
those were always like the first search criteria.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, oh, hold on. Let me see how I actually feel with this person and
Well,
not what
that's
I
how
would
it
look
should
like.
be.
Right. But I feel like it's stopped for a really long time.
I think because online dating gives you the option of filtering by all of these things, many of which are superficial, it makes people think these things are important.
Right.
When in reality, if you met them out and about, you wouldn't be like, let me get out my tape measure,
Right.
let me, where's the Post-it with your salary on your forehead?
Suddenly everyone's an expert on the imperial system of measurement.
Right.
I actually wrote about this in my book. And maybe I said it the last time you were here. Like there was a time, I mean, I've been a matchmaker for more than 15 years. And there
Uh-huh.
was a time when people would say, I'm open to dating average height and tall height. Nobody was saying in 2009, he has to be 5'9" and up.
Right.
And that's so generous right now, right?
5'9" is 50% of the population. 5'9" is
Exactly.
average for American men.
But what was the most popular club song last year?
Yeah, well, we know.
I'm looking for a guy in
Yeah.
finance.
She originally
6'5",
wrote that to
right?
make fun of people.
Exactly. It was relatable.
It was relatable.
Right? And it's
You got to
just-
say it right, though. Finance.
Yeah, you're better at this. All right. So the second thing that I'm seeing, and I would love to tell you about it
Okay.
because I told it to Kursula, who's
Uh-huh.
not only my sister, but the other one of the
Right.
senior matchmakers on her team. And she said it blew her mind and she can't stop thinking about it and she wants to think about it more. But
Now I
I'm
have to
seeing
know.
class conscious compatibility. So
What's that mean?
after the election, after the United States election into 2024,
Yeah.
the day after, there
Yeah.
was like this mass exodus, at least of people. I don't know if it actually happened, but people were saying, I'm no longer online dating. I'm no longer going out with men. Right. Exactly. And I was like, all right, just give it 10 days, guys. Like, I
Mhm.
know you're in grief, whatever it is. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel like, oh God, we're doing this roller coaster again.
Mhm.
And now apparently this roller coaster includes trips to Greenland and the Gulf of America. That was not on the campaign
Mhm.
trail. I don't remember that being said, but okay.
Can America.
Yeah,
Anyway.
whatevs. What did you?
Can America.
Oh my God. Anyway. But there was this moment where that happened. And I remember a month later to the day, I'm at my 40th birthday party. And, some of my friends are Republican.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we ever talk about politics when we're together, but I'm aware that we voted differently.
Sure.
And as I'm enjoying a great conversation that we're having, I just think to myself, and I called it out. I actually said it to them. I said, you and I have way more in common than I do with Kamala Harris or Donald Trump.
Sure.
Right? Like we have similar values.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very similar lifestyle.
Sure.
We have a similar upbringing. We grew up together.
Yep.
And I want to believe that you, I don't have this exception for a lot of my adult friends.
Mm-hmm.
But you, because I've known you for so long, we have so much in the bid bottle, like of positive.
I understand,
that this can survive this.
Yeah.
All right. There's definitely a fuck around and find out moment happening right now, but that's not my problem. Anyway, but with that said, so that happened. And then 2 days later, Luigi allegedly assassinated the healthcare CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day when it happened, I was like, oh my God, like, wow, a murder on Fifth Avenue. Like, I remember thinking that. And then it was only, I think 3 days later when they said like what was inscribed on the bullets, where it said like defend, deny, depose, I think. I don't know if that's the right order.
I don't remember.
Deny, defend, depose. Yes. And I remember thinking, oh shit, we're about to have a conversation. And sure enough, you see it all over social media where people, including myself, are sharing some crazy story about an insurance company denying something. And it goes back to like, I have more in common with these people that may have voted differently than this.
Okay.
And then I see it with my clients.
Okay.
So some of my clients did not, especially the ones that are foreign born, did not understand this fascination with Luigi.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to explain to them because then one of them was asking, they had to talk about it on the date and they thought the date went bad because they were like, he's a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
And the person's like, that's not what this is about. Right. It's about the conversation that's happening after it, that we're suddenly all connected with this main common thing.
Okay.
And so while that's happening in December, you also have Elon Musk with his billions of dollars doing whatever he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You have this situation in January where those devastating wildfires are happening in California.
Yep.
And suddenly the comments, which are, in my eyes, they're disgusting, but there is this debate of pity for some and empathy for others.
Okay.
And I just feel like suddenly there is this class consciousness in the conversations that people are having about dating. So I think it's veering away from like, who did you vote for in the election? And also that to like, how do you feel about these things happening in our country? And who's really like, I don't think we should be pitted against each other, the working class. I think that there are solutions that as a country we can find that other countries have been able to do, but we are constantly fighting each other and we're so divided. I don't know. I just feel like I'm seeing this now when I'm matching people because these are the conversations that people are having.
Okay.
I know I just said way too much to you.
Oh, you're fine. I see it as much more binary than you do.
Tell me.
People are saying, if this person is conservative, I will not go out with them. If this person is liberal, I will not go out with them. If this person writes moderate, I think they're conservative. I will not go out with them. I see it as very, very black and white when it's online. And my clients have continued to say it since 2016.
Yeah.
So 2016, for obvious reasons, had the highest spike in people's political preferences being portrayed online, or they'll talk about it, or the highest, obviously, instance of the word Trump, was in 2016. Less so now, actually, because sadly we're used to it. So anyway, so I haven't seen the nuance that you seem to be saying, but you're matchmaking people and you're getting into different conversations than I am with people where I'm working with them on online dating. So on online dating, when you have to choose a profile based on just a few things, they are making it pretty binary. Conservative, liberal, won't go out, will go out. I'm not saying that's correct or not, but that is how people are looking at it.
Do you think moderate What is your
I
opinion on
don't
the
think
moderate?
that moderate means you're trying to do a cover up for conservative, because any client I've ever worked with who says moderate means middle of the road. Means I
Right.
have some conservative views, I have some liberal views,
Right.
I'm not really either. I'll put moderate. But the people who are very liberal see the word moderate and think they lean conservative and will say no for it, especially in a city like New York or like an LA or a pretty blue city. That is what people think. I'm not saying change what you put online, but it's how people are reading it.
I have 100% the same experience at work. Like all of my clients or matches that I have met that are moderate are always like fiscally this, socially this. And it's, I mean, look, there's of course a debate of how you could do both, I'm sure. But that's
Well,
not
I don't get
for
into
a
that
first
with
date,
clients.
you know?
I generally don't even ask my clients their political preferences, because I know if it's important to them, they will not be shy about it.
Right.
I don't even ask. This is not something I get into. I don't try to focus on politics.
Oh, maybe we should start doing that. We always ask them about their politics, and we never did before 2016.
Yeah.
But I remember in 2016, when Trump was running, our Trump supporters were saying they have to be a Trump supporter. That's when it started. And then I think once he became elected and once a few things happened in his first term, like a month in, suddenly all of our liberal clients were like, no Trump supporters. Like, I remember when the first domino fell and now, we just met a woman recently who voted for Trump. It's her right. And she said to us, I only want to date other men who voted for Trump because I don't want to be villainized on dates.
Okay.
And I just thought to myself, are there liberal men? I'm not trying to deny her lived experience, but rare do I hear in my own professional experience, liberal men say it's always conservative men and liberal women who are drawing the lines. I don't usually hear from liberal men saying, like, liberal men are like, I'm open to a debate. I don't know.
I'm going to tell you something personal that maybe won't make me look good. But when people tell me their political preferences, I stay as neutral as possible. I'll try to respect whatever they tell me. It's not my business. Whatever. But I do believe hopefully some amount of thought went into that choice. I am much more internally judgmental of clients when they tell me I won't date X race, X ethnicity, X religion, because that often has much, like a lot less thought put into it. And it's just like, oh, well, I'm not familiar with it. I'm not attracted. And that one I have a harder time with. Depending on my mood, I'll either keep my mouth shut or I will ask, oh, why? Why is that something that's important to you? I'm never going to change someone, but if I can get them to take a step back and think about the why and realize maybe it's not as important as they thought. I don't do that with politics because I want to believe that they've already put their thought into it.
Why would what you just said make you look bad?
I don't know, because I'm judging clients' choices sometimes.
Dude, I judge my clients every single day. Okay. And it's funny because sometimes people will DM me with whatever I write, like, you're being really judgmental. And I'm like, yeah, I'm literally a matchmaker. What do you think I do all day?
And I judge
I'm
it.
judging to see if you're good enough for my client.
Well, and I judge it because I think they're getting in their own way and I want what's best for everyone. But I have to remember sometimes what I think is best for everyone might not be for them,
Yeah, I've had that struggle. There are so many times where I want to tell a client, just like, if you could just go out with this person, you would get married in 6 months and never speak to me again. But then the client's like, oh, we can do better. And I'm like, no, you can't. This is the person. Let me just, it's so funny because we audited who were our clients in 2024. And the clients who just got out of the kitchen, and I know you have this at work too. The clients who just like let you do your job.
Oh my God.
And just go on the dates.
They're
like
so much happier and more successful.
Holy crap.
They're the ones who get into relationship
like
where
that.
The one where they have to approve everyone and then say no for, I don't think I've ever told this story. I don't know if I want to tell this story, but.
No one's forcing you, by the way.
Okay. You know me.
Yeah.
I'm generally a very positive person. I don't do sarcasm. I don't understand sarcasm. I don't like sarcasm.
You do puns though. You're like you are a national pun champion.
That is true. I can't dispute that.
Yeah.
I was on a coaching session with a client once, and what I do is I have clients share their screens with me so I can see how they swipe, what they're doing. We do it together. You're making a face.
I can't wait.
So I'm on, and she very well may listen, and here we are. But we were looking at someone on Bumble, a guy. I thought he seemed great, good profile, filled out profile, cute.
Yeah.
She zooms in on his eye. She goes, he has a lazy eye. I said, and? Okay.
Guys with lazy eyes are really good in bed.
Okay, well, I'm not going to draw any
They
conclusions.
overcompensate.
Okay, anyway. Who cares? He's got a lazy, big deal, whatever. Anyway, she zooms in on it and she goes, can you even imagine me going out with him? And I thought, here's what came out of my mouth. I'm not proud of what came out of my mouth because she pushed me over. That was it for me with her. And so I said, how dare he roam this earth? Oh. And I knew when I turned sarcastic because I was so angry with her, I knew it was time. So I actually reeled it in and I said, I don't think this relationship is working for us. Like the working.
And you let her go as a client?
I let her go as a client.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I tried to be as professional as possible after I heard myself because it takes a lot to push me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty even keeled when I work with people.
Especially
I'm a
the
cheerleader.
job that you do. I could never do what you do. It's so hard. We talk about you all the time in the office.
Oh, thanks.
And we're just like, I cannot do it. It's
I appreciate
crazy.
That.
I'm so happy you're validating the experience that I'm having as a matchmaker too, because in 2024, the clients that we had that got out of the kitchen, that just let me, Krasul, Lucinda, the senior matchmakers, like, just do your job, pick the best person. There's honor in the effort and just go on the dates. Every single one of them entered a relationship within 3 months, right?
Yeah.
And then you have clients who are like, oh, I've had clients say she's not thin enough. And I'm like, she's a size 2.
I have clients say that all the time.
And then I have clients who are just overtly picky.
Yeah.
And I know I'm getting paid
I get it.
a certain amount for that pickiness. And you can be picky. I have no problem with a client being picky.
Yeah.
But now that you've been picky, let me do my job and go on those dates.
Can you even imagine? Like, I can't imagine telling my accountant how to do his job.
That's not a deduction.
You know what I mean? Like, if I hire someone, it's because I've done my research and I truly want them to do their expertise for me. And so it's always interesting to me when someone comes to you or me or anyone in our field and then tries to micromanage the process. Like, it's 3 months, it's 6 months, it's a year, whatever the contract is. Just throw caution to the wind and see what happens. You've paid for it. Just
what's the worst thing you can do? You have a good experience on a date and you don't see them again. Okay,
or you have a bad date and it's a good story.
Right, right. I always find it pretty fascinating. That, like, I even tell my clients before they sign the contract, like, listen. You can be picky. That's fine. I will find matches on this search criteria. I will find them. I will turn over every stone and find you all of the matches you want. But you have to go on the dates.
Yeah.
That's the deal here.
My favorite kind of client, and I'm working with one of them right now, and she probably knows who she is the type who had stuff in her head or their head. They had beliefs. And yet I'll push them to go out with people against their quote type or some belief they had. And I'll always respect someone who comes back to me and says, thank you. I really didn't know I could be into somebody like this.
That's cool.
Thank you makes somebody immediately my favorite type of client. But someone who can recognize that we all have blind spots. We all have limitations. You, me, everybody.
Right.
But someone who can take a step back and say, wow, thank you for shedding light on that. I'll look at it differently going forward. That's a dream client.
I think also what we do is we hold up a mirror to reality. So it seems like we've had our own respective perceptions of January. Is there anything else that you've been seeing?
Yes. I don't know what this debate is over whether a coffee date is good enough, but it keeps coming up. First of all, it's cold out. Hold on.
Is it?
It's fine.
I have no problem with coffee dates. I think coffee dates are the best.
Fine. Who cares? I want your first date to be something where it's short enough. You can get a sense of each other. You can hear each other, but you can extend it if you're enjoying each other's company, whether that's coffee or a beverage of some kind, alcoholic beverage or
ice cream.
I don't know.
I love a walk and gelato date.
Great. Walk and gelato. I don't know what alternate universe dating coach is out there telling all of these women that a coffee date is, quote, low effort. And all I keep thinking of is I assume that effort is synonymous with money.
Yeah,
exactly. And I keep thinking these women who buy into coffee date being low effort. I keep thinking, if given the choice of an expensive restaurant that's next door to a man's apartment, but he'll dine her and wine her there, and then probably invite her home, versus a coffee date where he actually does some research in her neighborhood, finds a cute mom and pop coffee shop, sees that there's a place next door to play ping pong. Why would the expensive dinner be considered higher effort than the quote low effort coffee that actually took effort because he went on Google Maps and Yelp? Okay.
I'll actually, I see what you're saying, and I'll even raise you on this. Okay. Because I agree with you 100%. You are meeting someone off of the internet. I don't want to go to dinner with a stranger for 2 hours.
Oh God, that sounds
especially
like a nightmare.
If we have no friend in common.
It's a nightmare, and then you don't know if the service is going to be bad, and it's just
Right. I'd rather let's go check the vibe.
Yeah.
And if we vibe, then we set up our real first date.
I also don't want anyone out that much money on a first date.
Yeah.
It's a first date, and so put it on the record: coffee is a fine first date.
I know I've said this before, but during lockdown 5 years ago, we, just like you, we struggled in how we're going to set up our clients for in-person dates.
Do we do a video? Do we do an in-person? Do we do outdoors? Yeah.
And starting in June 2020, all of our dates went to walk dates. They all started at Strawberry Fields at Central Park West. And we instructed them that once you get in, you're going to make a right and head south. And that way your date was like 20 minutes long, your walk date.
I remember you said this.
Yeah. And then once you get to Columbus Circle, you can decide if you want to keep going or if you're hopping on a subway and going home.
That's great.
So we set up 300 first dates in 2020 that started at Strawberry Fields.
Incredible.
In a matter of, I want to say 5 months, because once December came along, we had to get the igloo dates going. You remember those?
Of course.
Oh my God, is someone listening to this in the future is going to be like, what the hell are you guys talking about? But, igloo dates. Anyway, so I remember when we did our audit again at the end of 2020, we always audit, how did our dates go? And we have never had the amount of success in second date turnover than we did in 2020. So of the 300 first dates we did in 2020, 200 of them went on second dates.
Incredible.
And that, I remember I was like, and it cost nothing.
Yeah. I think that's incredible. Also, body language wise, things go better if you're next to each other or catty corner. So if you're walking, it's kind of nice because you don't have to stare each other in the face like an interview.
Stranger.
I also don't recommend dinner because often you're placed at a two-top. The tables are really close together. Your table neighbors can hear everything you're saying, and you have to yell across. You're not going to have an intimate conversation by yelling across a table, right? So I'd rather you sit next to each other, whether that's at a bar or a coffee shop or catty corner, perpendicular.
Perpendicular,
Yeah, I know people say it differently. But so a walk, you are next to each other, and that's kind of nice because you can work off of each other. You can be close, but not too close, hopefully. Yeah. And you don't have to just stare each other down.
Your pinkies accidentally touch sometimes when you're walking.
Feeling the heat.
You brought a few screenshots to further illustrate the coffee date debate.
Yeah.
Let's see them.
Okay. So one was, we'll call it Penguin Guy.
Penguin Guy.
Yeah, so
my husband.
It's a Bumble conversation.
Okay.
And this guy says, if I wanted to take you for coffee, and he asks what city or town. It's in Canada, so I don't know these towns.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was being very thoughtful, basically saying, what's convenient for you? I'd love to take you out on a date for coffee. And she writes, no punctuation, nothing. I don't do coffee dates. And him, I have to respect. He didn't take this in any which way. He just said, oh, why is that? And she very rudely said, it's cheap, lacks effort and creativity, just bland and not exciting. You don't try. And then she goes on to say, male penguins will search for days, if not weeks, to find a pretty ass rock to bring to a girl penguin so she'll even talk to him. And I gotta say, I love this guy's response. So I validated him that no, she's being ridiculous. And he wrote, and I love this, I can see where you're coming from, but at this stage in a relationship, I'm really trying to get to know the person. There is all the time in the world for grand gestures and exciting dates. But when I bring my penguin a rock, it will be because I know who they are and that I want them to be my penguin. And I just wanted to stand up and give him an ovation.
Marry him.
I know.
Marry him. That's it. I'd be like, I'm so sorry. Yes, let's go for coffee. We can do Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, well, everyone in my DMs was like, who is this guy? I want to date him. I'll fly to Canada.
Oh my God, that is so eloquent.
It's just so classless of her. Like, get over yourself. He's trying to come to you to make it convenient to learn about you. And because you want someone presumably spending money on you, you have now screwed yourself out of a date with a nice man.
Eloquent too.
Eloquent too. Very well written.
Well, you have another one?
The next one, yes.
Oh my gosh, Erika, you came prepared.
I did come prepared. I'm an A student. The next one, not as rude, thank goodness. So they're having a conversation, and this one, he asked, how's your schedule? Would you like to meet up for a drink in the city? Totally normal date request.
Yeah.
She says, now it's drinks and coffee. She says, I don't do drink coffee meets because that's for friends and colleagues. So if you are asking me on an actual date that you'd like to plan for us, then that's a different story.
Reverse it for a second. Imagine if a man said that to a woman.
No. So what did I write in the caption here? I said, I was hesitant to double down because I had just posted the Penguin one the day before. And I said, at least this is much more civil, but I couldn't disagree more with where she's coming from. And then, like I said here, sometimes I wonder if they would agree to a quote date at an extravagant restaurant in the guy's backyard. And it's like, no, that's not the effort you're looking for. Like, you want the thoughtful person. There have to be some people online some alternate universe Maria and Erika who are giving this advice, and I can't take it.
There are. I've seen it.
I've
seen it on TikTok that there are a lot of dating content creators.
Yeah.
Who do this. And it's funny because I think about my clients, matchmaking is an expensive service. And my clients are like, oh, well, we're doing a coffee date. I don't know this person. I don't want to spend. It's not about the spending money. It's how they spend their time.
Sure.
Right? 20 minutes?
I love
2
a date.
hours?
20 minutes, I would say, is too short for a date. I'd give it at least 45. Regardless.
It's going really shitty if it's 20 minutes.
Exactly. Regardless, though, I want you to have the choice to extend that date.
Right.
If you're enjoying yourself and, hey, this is really fun. Do you want to go grab a bite? I want that to be an active choice, not assumed. You can always add dinner, but you can't take it back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's making me think of how I met my husband. I met him through friends at a bar.
Yep.
But the next day we went on our real date and we walked the Freedom Trail in Boston, which took us like 3 hours. And in between we had no plans. Like we're just doing this. And then we passed an oyster restaurant and had oysters.
Great. I think dinner is actually fine if you've met in person and there's some baseline of attraction there.
Right.
But with online, it's hard to know. I like people to have the in or the out if they want it. Okay, this next example,
I want to hear
you're going to keel over. Okay, so this one, exactly the opposite. Wait till you hear this one. Okay, so this one, my client is purple here. And she's talking about he asked her out. She's talking about her availability and says, I could do a coffee Sunday or a drink Monday.
Wait, hold on. You got to read this.
Okay, let me read it. She says, in terms of availability, this week is pretty busy, but how about either something Sunday, like a coffee late morning, or next Monday evening for a drink?
I love this. I love that there's two options. If you're not watching this on YouTube, if you're listening, feel free to join us on YouTube as well and check this out because we are sharing the screenshots.
Now, what I didn't say when I posted this is this client had hired me to fully manage her online dating accounts. So I'm actually her as purple.
Got you.
I didn't share that online, but I'm telling you because...
And now the world, yeah.
And now the world. But I was the one making the choice here in how to respond, which is relevant.
Right. Okay.
That's why it's worded so nicely. Anyway, Continue. So he says, hi, I could do Monday evening at 6:30 or 7. Which one of those times is better for you? And now I'll give you some background here. So she says, I say, oh man, I actually just had something scheduled for work Monday night. So sorry about that. Any chance Sunday works? If not, it might have to be after the holiday. So she's actually a doctor and she had to do a surgery that night.
Right.
I didn't want her to have to get into the details.
Sure.
It's work. Her job is listed in his profile, so he could have surmised. And I figured it's better. She's now offering him a day sooner. Okay. So then he says, hi, person. I understand. This is crazy. And I'm genuinely interested.
This is a man now?
This is a man.
Okay.
Hi, I understand. And I'm genuinely interested in meeting you and getting to know you. It's like a soliloquy here. I appreciate your interest and I'm sure that you mean well. I am open to a cocktail later in the day Sunday, but am not open to coffee dates. From this standpoint, ChatGPT must have written this. From this standpoint, coffee dates don't allow sufficient chance to get to know somebody and often are utilized as a convenient means to rule people out efficiently. Reasonable minds, which I'm not sure he has one, can disagree on this, but that doesn't change my assessment of them or posture towards them. Additionally, first dates are inherently challenging and fraught. And effectively disallowing alcohol isn't helpful. So basically, he's saying I need to have alcohol to have a first date.
I mean, Irish coffee. Jesus.
And from this standpoint, second instance of him saying that, if you're open to a cocktail later on Sunday or after the holiday, please feel free to let me know. In any case, I enjoyed chatting with you. And let me add, I'd love the chance to get to know you. And I, as client, made the executive decision that this was not a date she was going on. And so I said, it sounds like you have some strong opinions. I think I'll decline meeting. All the best.
Yeah, I think what he could have done.
He could have done a million other things.
Right. But the best thing he could have done is, I can do Sunday evening.
Yeah.
And instead of coffee, how about we go for a cocktail? This is my favorite spot.
Yeah. Or let's do brunch. You can get a mimosa at brunch.
Right. This is telling me so much about your character.
It tells me that he's been rejected after coffee dates and thinks it's the coffee's fault. Ta-da!
Dude, there have been times. I mean, come on. All right.
Anyway, so this was kind of the opposite. Just an interesting. So I put a poll out and said, do you agree with the decision to cancel? And 94% said yes, because.
Just ramblings of an insane man. Erika, I absolutely love that you brought screenshots. And
Thanks.
if you were listening, you can head on to YouTube and check them out yourself. There will be a link in the show notes. While I have you in the show notes, go follow my girl Erika at A Little Nudge on Instagram. Mm-hmm. She's going to be back with us here next week. We have so much more to discuss. It's going to be Valentine's Day.
I know.
While you're there, if you don't follow me as well on Instagram. I'm at Matchmaker Maria. And you can also follow the podcast at Ask a Matchmaker. So that way you know each and every week when a new episode has come out. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Erika, thank you so much for joining me as co-host this month.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Absolutely. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, 5 stars, and share it with your friend. These simple steps help the podcast grow, and I appreciate you for helping me do that. Be lovable, but more importantly, be likable. See you next week.